Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice was incarcerated after testing positive for marijuana in violation of the terms of his probation. Rice is now going to miss OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Instead, he's going to be spending the next 30 days in jail. He was booked into custody in Dallas on Tuesday. He is scheduled to be released on June 16th. Now, back in July of 2025, he was ordered to serve jail time for his role in a multi-car crash in Dallas in March of 2024. The NFL suspended Rice 6 games last season for violating the personal conduct policy. So, Jeff, I mean, what more can you tell us about this situation, this latest chapter for Rashee Rice?
Well, first of all, in the very immediate forefront is the fact that Rashee Rice will not be able to participate in OTAs or the mandatory minicamp, of course. That's something that relates to the football field. The question then becomes whether the NFL will also provide discipline based on the fact that he did fail this marijuana test through his probation. That's not through the NFL, though. I did reach out to the league, and their simple comment at this point is we are aware of the report and will decline further comment at this time. So we will wait to see whether Rice will face further discipline from the NFL here. Certainly, though, his own problems to deal with in the immediacy here with 30 days in jail.
And in terms of the team, Rice is supposed to be a key piece for Chiefs receiving core that has certainly had to rely a lot on Travis Kelce, who's obviously coming back this season. He's been the team's leading receiver for 4 straight years. Of their top 3 wideouts, Rice played 6 fewer games than Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton did last year. So, Peter, here we are. What's your take on this situation?
Totality of it all is just disappointing. This is a situation where the young man gets stung here for this thing, so he's got to serve 30 days in jail. He was going to have to spend those 30 days over the next 5 years at some point, but now it's expedited. But, just speaking with people around the league and with sources in Kansas City leading up to the draft and even up till today, this thought that they're going to go get Deebo Samuel or go and make a play for Brandon Ayuk, like, they don't have money. They're tapped out. They don't have the flexibility to go out there and now suddenly entertain calls and start hosting free agent visits. It's almost like this is what we've got. The draft has already passed us by, and we're showing names like Cyrus Allen. Like, you're going to have to really rely on those young players to make plays. But disappointing, and I don't even know what they expected from Rashee Rice this year based on his availability, whatever else. But this certainly sets them back. And to Jeff's point, there might be some real league disciplinary action again. So at this point, you say it's a slap on the wrist, but it actually could be more than that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, uncertainty around a receiver like this would be bad for any team, but I think Peter highlighted exactly why it's especially bad for the Kansas City Chiefs, because they don't just hope Rashee Rice returns to form. They need him to return to form, I believe, for this receiver group to be competitive or good enough, frankly, in 2026, especially if they can't add to it for financial reasons. Rice has had, such an up and down career as a rookie. You guys remember he was like a sensation in this offense. He was a yards after the catch machine. He was so good against zone coverage and so paired so well with Kelce and then Worthy. And then I had a missing year because of the injury. And then last season, it kind of felt like he just never quite returned to form. He really struggled with drops in the end of last season. Drop rate over 10%. That's something that needs to improve. And when you take a step back and look at the group as a whole, they brought back Tyquan Thornton. He can be a deep threat. Xavier Worthy can work deep and maybe some underneath and get some manufactured touches. But Rice really is the only receiver you feel good about as a short intermediate receiving option who you can rely on in this offense. And if he's not either available or not 100%, then I start to really get concerned about the group as a whole.
Yeah, and to that point, as he's in the final year now of his 4-year rookie deal, he has missed 22 of 34 games in the last 2 seasons. Browns kicking off OTAs today. All eyes on the QB situation as Deshaun Watson is back and taking QB1 reps. He has not taken an in-game snap in nearly 600 days. Obviously in the mix to start here. Cleveland 3 different starting QBs last season. Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, a combined 4-9 as rookies. Taylon Green, he was a 6th round pick this year because why not have 4 in the room? Jeff, what are you hearing about how they're going to handle this QB room in Cleveland?
Well, first, you have to start with the fact that Todd Monken is a new head coach there, essentially giving the closest thing to a clean slate to Deshaun Watson. So he does at times feel like he is going to be in pole position to be that day one starter. But we still can also look back to OTAs last month, and he was splitting first team reps with Shedeur Sanders. Very curious to see how that plays out in the coming days. But again, I think going into training camp, the biggest thing we can say is that Watson is healthy after not playing since October 2024. And he also comes in with a new head coach who has been very vocal about the fact he's not going to evaluate the tape that he's seen with the Browns in recent years, but rather he's going to consider this a blank slate and give Deshaun Watson the chance to start.
So crazy to think, too, that Watson is extension eligible after this season. I mean, what if he comes in and has a great season? But Mina, listen, whoever is at quarterback, what are your expectations for this offense that was the least efficient in the NFL last year?
Well, I think that the Browns did a lot of things to improve the situation that any of these quarterbacks walk into. I think this could be one of the most improved offensive lines in football this season, which wouldn't be hard given all of the injuries and inconsistency they had last season. But I think they added quite a few versatile pieces, players who can play multiple positions, both in free agency and the draft. And then this receiver group as well should be dramatically improved. As you guys know, I love Casey Concepcion, who they drafted. Denzel Boston out of Washington fits so well with them. And then suddenly there's less pressure on Jerry Jeudy. Harold Fan Jr., the tight end they drafted last year, already looks like a star. But, for the quarterback, if it is Shedeur Sanders, who, for my money, is probably still the leader in the clubhouse, we'll see. None of that will matter if he can't play faster. Last season, when he threw the ball in rhythm, he actually wasn't that bad. In fact, you see here, 2.5 seconds to 3, that's in rhythm. He had a QBR of 64, which is below average, but it's definitely sufficient. And then when he held onto the football and it was over 3 seconds, QBR of 4, which is unsurprisingly near the bottom of the NFL. And the problem is he had the longest time to throw of any quarterback in football last season. So he has to play faster for this to work. But I do think if he is the starter, will be in a significantly better situation than last season.
Okay, that's good. Let's look on the other side of the ball. And Peter, apparently you win the big prize today. You get to talk about everybody who's not there. Myles Garrett isn't there. Defensive Player of the Year, got a new contract last season. Your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. So the Cavs play the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1. I'm scrolling Twitter. I see 92.3 The Fan. I see my guys Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin. And what are they talking about? They're talking about Myles Garrett and the fact that he's not there. And their point was, this is not a story. Let's not make a story out of this. This is what he did last year until June 9th when it's mandatory. Why are we even talking about this? I think it could be a story. New head coach, new defensive coordinator, new fresh blood. Maybe it's Deshaun Watson playing at quarterback for the first time in 4 years. Why isn't it a story that their star player and the best player for the franchise in the last nearly 2 decades, maybe since Joe Thomas, wasn't there at OTAs? Could he have shown up? Look, I know it's going to be nearly impossible to get us riled up and ready to go about doing Myles Garrett trade talk in May after we went through all of free agency and all of the draft. But it all goes away if Myles Garrett shows up with a happy face.
Yeah,
and
maybe he's just not seeing it right now.
Hannah,
yeah,
until he's there, that still looms. And I think it's fair to talk about that. Hey, Myles Garrett, not at camp.
Yeah, record 23 sacks last year, 6th highest paid defensive player in the league. But who knows what he's seeing or what he's doing. There is one guy that we did see today, and it's Mina's, one of her very favorite. You mentioned him, Mina. Casey Concepcion. There he is. Showing off, right? He's got that new number 1 jersey, Mina. They gave that to him, right?
That's a good number for him. Number 1, that's going to look good streaking down the field.
There you go. Number 1 in your hearts and your minds. That first round pick.
Do you see 95?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I don't. But number 1 is front and center. There he is. He wanted that number, so he made the switch this week, and they gave it to him. Well done.